the theme here is vindication of the vilified. And I wanted to revisit some of these Trump lawfare cases with you real quick. This podcaster, Trish Regan, actually did. Sometimes I get a little lazy. I go to put the clips together and I'm like, I don't want to put all these clips together by myself. I don't want to go collect all this data on my own right now. So rather than do that, what I like to do is find someone who's already done it for me and just show their video. So this is Trish Regan doing kind of a breakdown on where the Trump lawfare cases are at. And this is the Letitia James one specific.
Looking increasingly like, she wants to run for the next mayor position of New York City. Letitia James, who we had to sit through saying stuff like this.
That's a great point, because I forgot that Eric Adams is out. So she's been a good partisan and helped the cause. She might be up next in line.
He's called me venomous. We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City. He's called me disgraceful. Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court. He's called.
See, what I think is interesting about Trump when I think about, my trajectory over the past several years is that, listen to her. Trump actually fights back. The status quo is not used to that. And also, can you imagine if this was Bernie Sanders trying to fight these people? Trump has years and years of experience in court, and the resources to actually battle these people who are trying to keep trying desperately, clawing and scratching to keep the status quo in place, despite Americans rejecting it.
Called me radical.
Listen, yes. We know he's crazy. Yeah. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. Yeah. We know he's out of control. Yeah. We know he's losing it. Yeah. We know his days are numbered and we will come together.
He's called me a racist.
We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
I want to talk to you.
So you remember her. Okay. So she's another one that's about to have egg on her face, and she's trying to, run for the exit as fast as she can. As fast as she can, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, she's trying to run right into Eric Adams' spot there in the city of New York. Letitia James is trying to become the mayor of New York. Why? Because, she needs a pit stop here in her big political career, because it's over there in the AG's office. Any day now, that case is going to be reversed. You've heard.
Well, to go back to the first question about whether there's other examples of this, there are other examples of this. In the first American case, the Attorney General brought a 6312 case where the transaction at issue was between a very big bank, Wells Fargo, and a professional appraisal firm.
But it wasn't the concern there that the public would ultimately be negatively impacted and affected by what those corporate actors were doing.
And that concern is here as well, because when you have hidden risks getting injected into the market, that hurts the market and honest participants in the market. And the legislature also decided, contrary to what defendants think, that making sure that business in New York stays honest is the way to attract and keep business
to that
in New
point.
York.
Okay, all right. So you know what? Like the judges were all.
We covered this a while back because Jon Stewart tried to make a big deal out of this real estate thing, and we found out that Jon Stewart actually falsely inflated the price of his own condo. Because that's what you do when you're trying to sell something. You overprice it and then you negotiate down. Or people buy it, at the value you sell it at if you're lucky. But that's how it works. And that's what they're trying to get this guy on. It's ridiculous.
Except for that one lady at the end. They were all like, you're high. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, this is not Lehman Brothers, right? This is an individual transaction with two sophisticated players. Nobody was harmed. There's no one saying, hey, you know what? I got hurt in this transaction. In fact, everybody's happy. So why is Letitia James inserting herself in the middle, except that, well, we know why, right? She wanted to bankrupt him.
She has political aspirations.
I'm glad you guys have a sense of humor about this, because this room is undeniably impressive. It really is. The prestige, the wealth, the allegations. I mean, wow. And don't feel bad if you don't have any allegations yet, okay? Which reminds me, Letitia James is here. She had a great year. She's just back there watching all of you. She's watching.
Very interesting. This is Letitia James back in 2 months ago talking about misinformation. Imagine that.
And the New York Attorney General is warning about AI and misinformation ahead of the presidential election. Letitia James is urging major tech companies to take meaningful steps to protect voters, saying AI is making it easier for bad actors to create deceptive content. I want to bring in ABC News senior reporter Emmanuel Saliba for more on this. Emmanuel, how is AI being used to deceive people in the political arena? And what is it James wants these tech companies to do about it?
Well, one of the big issues is that there is no uniform way these tech companies and AI companies are approaching the problem of misinformation and disinformation. She's asking for them to provide clear indication of how they're dealing with these issues ahead of the elections. She's asking for an in-person meeting to go over all of these different issues, which is...
So she can sit with these people and go, look, buddy, we know that you want Kamala to win. So how are you going to help?
Labeling, how do they stop misinformation? What is, and some of their policy is public, but she requested a formal in-person meeting.
So what should we be looking out for? Just as regular people scrolling the internet, how do we detect what is authentic and what is sort of fake created by AI? Are there red flags or kind of little...
Dewey, we wouldn't want to use our own brains. Please tell us what we're supposed to do. Oh, wise and kind overlords.
Warning signs.
I mean, it's becoming increasingly difficult to tell what's been generated using AI and what's human made.
No, it's not.
Seeing is no longer believing when it comes.
Not if you have common sense, it's not. And by the way, all the platforms are already doing something. Facebook or Instagram will just take it down, but Elon will put a community note on it that says, hey, this is AI generated. So we're safe. No further action is necessary.
Online content, and I have to keep saying it because the technology is progressing.
Because I'm a paid hack for the fucking industry that sells the technology to do this, and the gatekeepers who shape elections.
Progressing day by day. It's important for all of us to understand just how good this technology is getting, and just be skeptical. Be skeptical of what you see online. Try to find the original sources.
Smartest thing she said so far.
Is go to trusted sources, government
news. That's not smart.
News, try to find other images of the same scene like we saw with
listen to what the government tells you about what they're doing. They wouldn't lie. They've never done it in the past.
The Harris campaign with the Harris photo that has been going viral over the weekend. Try to find other sources. Does this look like it was taken by other people on the ground, or is it just one photo, one video? Is it really the person's voice?
Here's Letitia James on MSNBC basically saying out loud that she's trying to help the Democrats.
They're running very scared. That's what I think. They're running very scared, and they have nothing else other than racism and sexism. And so when you have nothing else...
You're a racist! That was like such a Freudian line. They have nothing else except racism and sexism. That is literally the Democrats in 2024. They have no economy. They've blown up the world. They've ruined everything they've touched. They're trying to silence dissent. All they have is you're a racist. And Obama just came out the other day and called fucking black men sexist because they don't want to vote for Kamala. So thank you for vocalizing, Letitia, albeit projection, Thank you for vocalizing the actual state of the Democratic Party.
Unfortunately, you just appeal to the racists among us, the white nationalists among us.
White
That's all.
nationalists.
The reality is that
that
Kamala
buzzword?
Harris, Vice President Harris, is qualified, and oftentimes she's underestimated, but she's an overachiever, and that's why I have wholeheartedly endorsed her.
So there you go. There's the woman who's trying to prosecute Trump, basically saying on television she's endorsing Kamala Harris. That's the world we. Can you imagine if the reverse was true? If there was a court case open against Chuck Schumer, and one of the Republicans was a prosecutor in that case? Could you imagine that? And then that Republican was going on TV like, "Yeah, I'm totally for Trump, and we're gonna get." If the roles were reversed here, people would be losing their minds. But because it's Trump, it's okay, because he's the most evil threat to democracy the world has ever seen. So we already know the Stormy Daniels case is bullshit. I mean, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, and any politician has that kind of dirt in their closet, and Trump wasn't even a politician. So the Stormy Daniels case on its face is a joke. But here's the other big one, the Jack Smith one. And I do want to show their side of it, because if you watch the Democrat news, everything is like, oh, Jack Smith's going to get Trump, like they've been saying for 20 years. So Fox is a little bit more of a reliable source for news on this case. And Smith apparently did some kind of document dump today that's supposed to be the most damning evidence ever for Trump. But it's, of course, complete, just PR crap, and half of it's redacted, so you can't even see most of it. It's just like, look at all these things that you can't see. Anyway, Trump campaign slams witch hunt after Jack Smith court docs released less than 3 weeks before election. Now, the reason I brought these up is because this right here is election interference. This is the kind of shit that they did last year, or last cycle, with the Biden laptop and stuff. It's Russian disinformation or whatever. Majority of documents remain under seal, while many of the unsealed materials have previously been released in some form. So it's supposed to be this big scoop, but it's actually just stuff that they've already released before, so they can run a press cycle about how Trump is a terrible person with an indictment open against him. This is why they did it. I don't even think that these people believe. And you can see with the Letitia James thing, I don't even think these people believed that these cases were valid, because the Letitia James one is clearly not. The Stormy Daniels one is clearly not. I believe that's going to be appealed and thrown out if it hasn't been already. But I believe they did this for this reason right here, so they could run news stories about Trump indictments all through election season. And I don't think that it's working the way that they had hoped, because Black men and people who have experienced lawfare look at this and go, oh shit, I can relate to that. Shit, they're weaponizing the justice system against him. Wow, I've felt that before. I mean, I'm a white guy and I felt that before. So let's just read this real quick. The judge in former President Trump's federal election interference case on Friday made public more documents from special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into former president just weeks before the 2024 election. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chitkan ordered Thursday night that additional documents be made public. The hundreds of pages of documents are Smith's appendix of exhibits in the fight over whether Trump has a level of presidential immunity that negates the charges against him. Radical Democrats are hell-bent on interfering in the presidential election on behalf of lying Kamala Harris, Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung told Fox News Digital. With just over 2 weeks until Election Day, President Trump is dominating this race, and crazed liberals throughout the deep state are freaking out. So far, seems pretty legit. Chung added, as mandated by the Supreme Court's historic decision on presidential immunity and other viral jurisprudence, this entire case is a sham and a partisan, unconstitutional witch hunt that should be dismissed entirely, as should all of the remaining Democrat hoaxes. So there you have it, the Jack Smith case, and America is looking at that one.
But ain't that America for you and me? Ain't that America?
I'm so glad that I crystallized that photo into such a perfect video drop like that. You know, I'm very proud of that one.